Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to my channel. Actually this video's quite late from when I created and worked in my Yule journal. So this is going to be a flip through of the completed journal. I do have some little ribbon material scraps and my paper scraps just in case I want to add a little something, but it's pretty full. And so I started this on the December 21st, which was summer solstice. And I kept up with my daily videos of each night's activity. So I was doing a series of the 12 nights of Yule. And as I was doing it, I was doing more research, learning more about it, realizing that the nights are very fluid and like the activities and whatnot. But when I was doing this, just a little bit of sad news, but my mother, who has battled dementia for the past 6 years, she entered the final stage of her life, hospice. She was home in her hospital bed, but I think I'll talk about it when I go through here, but I believe it was Christmas Day night that we as a family decided that it was her time. She had suffered for many, many years, and so there was a sense of relief, but of course, you know, difficult as well. So anyways, because of all that, I didn't keep up with recording my videos every day. I did keep up with the nightly activities. It was such a therapeutic kind of experience for me to really focus on myself every evening when I came home. So anyways, that is why this video is late in coming. So I created the journal from a Christmas card, and it is just a gorgeous, it has a lot of gold embossing around it. And didn't do anything to the back, but I did, this said Merry Christmas, so I just covered it with a white half circle and added the word Yule. Created a little spine dangle. And this, I put this just because it's really very full. Added a tiny little ribbon here on top of the tree just for fun, a couple of stickers. So, all right. Now some of the reflection activities are a little more personal, so I won't be, excuse me, sharing what I wrote, but I will be sharing what each night meant for me and what I did that night. So on the front inside cover, I just added a couple of journaling tags. I have not written on either of these. These are just for my continued learning. Just have my little title page here, 12 Nights of Yule. So what I learned in my research, I thought the first night, which was winter solstice, was Mother's Night, but actually Mother's Night occurs on the eve of winter solstice, so actually on December 20th, but I'd already created my spread here. And so I just did a little collage. On winter solstice is the longest, most sacred night of the year, when the veil between worlds is thinnest. This night is dedicated to Desira, or our maternal guardians. And I can't remember, my mom had a fall, and that was what kind of transitioned her into the end of life hospice. And I can't remember if it was this night or the next night. I'm trying to remember. But anyways, so the activity for this first night, winter solstice, was to reflect on your hopes, what you want to heal, and your intentions. And so inside this little envelope, I reflected on those things. But again, those are private, so I'm not going to take them out and read them. So night 2, my preliminary research had night 2 as Odin's Wild Hunt, but then as I continued to research, some resources had it on the 4th night, some had it on the 6th night. And then what I learned is a lot of these celebrations and activities are more of a modern take on the traditional Norse or Nordic 12 night, it wasn't even 12 nights of Yule, it was just Yule. And traditionally it ranged anywhere from 3 to 12 nights. It basically encompassed the darkest nights of the year. So the 12 nights of Yule is a little bit of a play on the 12 days of Christmas. All right, so I kept this as Odin's Wild Hunt. So during Odin's Wild Hunt, he and his menagerie of companions swept across the sky on stormy nights, especially during Yule. On these nights, you'll want to remain safely indoors because they would sweep up people and carry them away that were outside on these nights. And so some of Odin's companions were Sleipnir, which is his 8-legged horse, Gungnir, his spear, ravens, wolves, valkyries, stags. There were also, maybe some ghosts or I don't know, just like a lot of different, gosh, I don't know why I'm not remembering my words right now, kind of paranormal type of companions. All right, and so on this side, I just have this little cutout of a deer, a couple of deer, and then on the back side, I wrote down what were some activities that you can do on this night because you stay indoors. And some soft shadow work rituals include journaling, meditating. I wrote exposure therapy, and then I kind of knew what it was, but I didn't really know how it related to the 12 nights of Yule, and in my opinion, it really doesn't. So anyways, tarot and to write poetry. So I didn't do any of these activities on that night. Actually, this is the night that my mom fell. I do remember now. And so I didn't really do those activities, but I can always do them. And then the third night is, so basically what I did for each night is I came up with like a title or a topic or a theme. And then I wrote down kind of a description of it as well as some activities. And on some of them, like the activity might be me writing down something, reflecting, journaling. And sometimes I will have that exposed and sometimes I won't. Okay, so comfort is the third night. And so you make a cup of comfort and reflect on what brings me joy and comfort. So I made a cup of tea, which I love. I have tea first thing in the morning, and I prefer loose leaf tea. And then I have a cup of tea in the evening. And so while having the tea for this night, I set my intentions for bringing more joy and comfort into my life. And my son and I actually had a conversation about this because we've had a very difficult year. Well, now I'm doing this in 2026, but 2025 was a very difficult year for us for a number of reasons. And we had this conversation on this night about how we just were not allowing much joy into our lives. So we talked about what that looks like. And for me, it's reading, writing. I love music, and so I want to start playing music again. I love the forest, so I have this little fern leaf here, and I want to take more trips. I live on the central coast of California, so we're on the beach. It's just a couple-hour drive up to the closest really wooded forest, and so we're going to do more trips like that. And on this night, we honor our nature spirits or wights. That's what the Nordic tradition calls them. And so I used this sticker just because I thought that kind of made me think of a wight. So on this same night, you can cleanse your space. And so what I did this night was, I don't have it with me anymore. I hung it back where it belongs, but I have a white sage plant that grows in my yard. And so I pick the leaves as I want and I dry them, and then I bundle them up either with some lavender or rosemary, and once they're fully dried, I use them as smudge sticks. So that's what I did. I opened all the windows. I walked around with the smudge stick with the smoke. And I feel like cleansing my space encourages comfort because it allows me to breathe more freely and just to relax. It talks about, setting things on your altar. And I do have one, but it needs some attention. So I'm going to be working on that this month. I want to just kind of give it a refresh. All right. And then the fourth night was Connection, Christmas Eve. And this night provides a sacred sometimes I can't read my own writing. So connection with family, community, and nature. This night provides a sacred, I think it's strengthening, of connectedness with nature and the community. We tell stories to pass down and write about the year coming to a close. And that's what I did in here. I wrote about the year, which, as I mentioned, was a very difficult year. But as I wrote, I realized there were also some very beautiful moments. So my son and I visited with family at my mom's house, and we took our dog for a walk, stopping to really enjoy our natural surroundings. So I just added one of the sage leaves from my garden. All right, the fifth night, Transformation. And this night is about ancestor veneration and fate. And the Nordic word for fate is, I believe it's pronounced weird. I don't know. I should look it up. And this night, this is the night. So when my mom fell, we thought, okay, maybe she's going to come back from this. And so we gave it, the hospice nurses said, give it a couple of days and then we'll see. And this was the night that my family, my sisters and I decided that we were going to let her go. And so, and it was when I came home from that and I looked at my spreadsheet that I had created, it says this night reminds us that death is not an ending, but a transformation. And so it was a very timely message for me. We light candles in the windows to guide our ancestors home. And so, I found a little solace, a little comfort in that. And then underneath, I wrote about that. So tonight, my family and I decided to let my mom go. She's battled dementia for the past 5 years and has suffered so much. And then I just talk about how she fell 2 months ago, and that now she's at the end of her life. So, all right. The next night is the sixth night of Yule, which happens to be the day after Christmas Day. And for this night, I used the theme of gratitude. And so we journaled to release old habits, fears, or situations that we want. I worded that very awkwardly. I was exhausted, coming home each evening from being with my mom, and allow space for what we want to bring in. And so in my research on this particular night, this word popped up, and I love this word. So I added the definition, liminal. It is an adjective, and it means occupying a position at or on both sides of a boundary or threshold. I did not reflect on this yet. There were a couple of nights that I just came home so exhausted I did not do. And so I am going to reflect on old habits, fears, or situations that I want to let go of. Now I have these 2 middle pages. They are just extras because I want to build on to my continued research about Yule. It's just been a really fascinating experience to do this kind of research. That's a little pocket there, a tuck spot. All right, the 7th night is the sun's return. Purification. Fires on this night were believed to have protective and purifying powers. So dancing and singing around these fires welcomed the sun's strength and light. Because I wasn't going to go out and start a fire. Alternatively, you can create a protective charm to hang near the front door, protecting the home from negative energy and spirits. So I did create a charm, and it included a brass bell, a skeleton key, and a little sprig of rosemary from my garden. tied together with gold string. And that has been hanging by my front door since the 7th night when I made it. This night also is in honor of Sol, which is the Norse sun goddess. All right, night 8 is veneration and protection. On this night, we venerate or revere our ancestors by placing their photos near lighted candles and speaking their names aloud. This night is also Thor's night, a night of robust celebration, including feasting, drinking, and telling stories of our ancestors. We enjoy and celebrate the protection that Thor brings. And so what I did on this day when I was at my mom's, she hung on for quite a while in her hospital bed, but she was out of it, like on morphine, you know, so she didn't really talk or anything, but we sat there with her and we told lots of stories. We actually went through photos. She had a bunch of boxes of photos, so we went through those, and my 2 sisters and I, we separated into piles, so we each took our, not just photos, but old school awards, like just things like that. So this night was also very timely for me. So when I came home that night, I reflected a little bit. I made these 2 tags. So I reflected a little bit on the back of both of those about that experience, and I will keep that private. The 9th night is sacred self-love. So tonight is devoted to love. Self-love, love of others, love of what sustains us, like crops, gardens, animals, and communion. Some of the activities to honor this sacred love include rituals like baths, meditating, speaking kind words to yourself and to your garden, your plants, blessing items such as seeds on the family altar. So on this night when I came home, I did take a bath and I practiced speaking kind words to myself. I did not bless seeds on the family altar, but I can still do that. And then I reflected on the back of this journaling card what I'm going to be doing to practice more self-love. Because I think, well, I know I'm an educator and a parent, and I, during one of my recent therapy sessions, my therapist pointed out how I'm kind of like in that middle stage where like both my sister's kids are already grown, but I'm raising my son still, and so I'm kind of in this middle where I was being pulled to parent my parents and my child at the same time. And so I've really neglected myself. And so yeah, I'm going to be practicing more self-love. And then the 10th night is stillness. Embracing stillness, we honor the bond between humans and animals who make survival possible, not just as sustenance, because I personally don't eat meat, but as protection and companionship. And so I've always had dogs. I rescue dogs, and they have been a huge source of companionship. But I don't use them for protection, but you know, if somebody hears a dog barking, they're gonna think twice about approaching a house. So the bond between the human and animal world is very thin on this night, making divination and communication stronger. And I wrote this Fenrir. This is a Nordic wolf, and so I looked that up. Yeah, and then underneath here, I reflected on just some of, well, my past relationships with my dogs that have passed. So we have a dog right now, but I have said goodbye to 4 other dogs as an adult. The 11th night is on intentions. So I have this little quote. This is a night of beauty, passion, and powerful magic. As the wheel of the year turns towards spring, Freya reminds us that new life and love are stirring beneath winter's blanket. This is the night to plant seeds, figuratively and literally, by writing intentions for the new year, placing them under a candle or crystal, and visualizing them coming to fruition. So I wrote my intentions on the back of this little card, and I placed it under a candle and did some visualizing. This is just a note card that has more space. So as I go through the year, I want to revisit my intentions and either revise them or reflect on how I am materializing them. And then the last night is on renewal. And this is a night to celebrate the culmination of all the other nights. So the 12th night of Yule is a culmination of all 11 previous nights. It marks the successful journey through and survival of the darkest time of the year. In these celebrations, we experience a sense of renewal. And, you know, you can celebrate this culmination in whatever way feels right to you. So underneath here, I just stamped some of the things that I love to do to celebrate. Cook, read, music, bake, play, write, dance. Excuse me. One of the things I reintroduced into my life is puzzles. I used to love puzzles, but I haven't done them for years. And so now I've commandeered mine and my son's kitchen table because we don't really sit and eat there a lot. And so now that always has a puzzle that I'm working on. I did not reflect on the 11 nights. That's what this space is for. Because early on New Year's Eve, early morning, my mom passed. And so, you know, it was just a lot of being together, making arrangements. And so I am going to be reflecting on just my experience of those 11 nights. And then the back just has this little belly band with an extra piece of cardstock should I need it somewhere. And I have a feeling my reflections on the previous nights is going to be more than will fit on here. So I plan to use the back of this. And that is it. This was such a lovely experience for me during like a figurative and literal dark time. You know, it was the shortest days, longest nights, but also even though we are grateful, I am grateful my mom isn't suffering anymore, it was still a very difficult time. So I felt like this was just life-giving for me in a way. So anyways, I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.